Well, hello, fellow students. Welcome to the Film Production Podcast. My name is Jamie Bendy, and I'm going to be your host today, and I'm joined by three other wonderful guests. So we'll go around the table and we'll introduce ourselves. So, like I said, I'm Jamie Bendy. I'm a first year here at Salford, although I am 27, so I'm a mature student technically, but I don't know if that, I don't know where that kind of ends, because inside I'm not very mature. To my left.
My name's Faye and I'm a first year student. That's about it. Go on, yours.
Hi, I'm George Ellis, and I'm a second year student going into third year. It's all very exciting.
And I'm Aidan, and I'm also a second year going into third year. If you've heard the Film Production Podcast before, you will know who I am, because this is my fourth episode. So
he is a traitor.
You can't get rid of me.
No, but he's on TV and radio.
I'm not on film production anymore.
Absolute traitor.
I'm on TV and radio.
Yes.
So
but we're not going to get too deep into that, otherwise we'll cause a fight.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, but last time you were, maybe not last time, but when you were here before, we were talking a bit about Netflix versus cinema, weren't we? And
the very first episode I did was about will cinema survive with the rise of Netflix and streaming services.
And that was before.
And then about 3 weeks later, lockdown happened. So it was a bit like this entire discussion is now out of date because cinemas are shut. So I thought it'd be quite nice when we come back to do this now, post lockdown 3, if we could say what is it that cinemas need to do, and big films and the big companies and big franchise, those kind of things, what do they need to do to get us going back to the cinema to make sure that they survive and don't shut down? Because a bunch of cinemas in America have all shut down.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid that happening here?
I think bring the prices down a little.
yeah, that will help. Have you guys been to the cinema since everything has started reopening again?
I've seen two things.
What have we seen?
The thing I saw was A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yes.
I went to see it with Aidan for his birthday, actually. And I don't know whether bringing the prices down is such a big thing. I think, obviously that's always nice, and I'll take that. Yes, please.
Sure.
But for me, I'll always go to the cinema over kind of Netflix and stuff, because I like the experience. I like grabbing a hot dog. I like just going to the cinema. I mean, even over lockdown, well, not main lockdown, but when they were, in the cinema when they were showing films that had already been released, when they were doing that kind of stuff, I still went every so often to see Batman Begins, that kind of thing, and it was just a nice experience. So I think, for cinema will always survive for me, but I think for the wider world, we've just got to maybe lean more into it, because most recent films now, they're released both home premiere and cinema. It's kind of like most people are going to pick the home premiere. Why are they going to go to the cinema? If you had stopped doing the home premieres for a bit, it'll probably get more people going to the cinema a bit.
Yeah, I agree. So have you seen any of the kind of older releases that you particularly enjoyed at the cinema that you might not have got to see otherwise?
Well, I did just say Batman Begins, because that was before my obviously, I'm a huge fan of Batman. Give me and Aidan's A Night with the Dark Knight podcast to listen.
We have a Batman podcast, so
But
Nice.
When I was younger, I never got to see it in cinema, because it was just kind of when I was really young, kind of 8 years old I probably would have been. So I saw The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises in the cinema, but I never saw the first one. So it was just a really nice experience getting to just kind of watch it on the big screen. And it just kind of, honestly, actually, I think I really like this if they do keep showing old films in the cinema, because although they might not earn as much money, but if they've got a dead weekend where it's just kids films, for example, put in a Lord of the Rings or something, put in an older film, and then you can get some revenue from the older folks, which I basically am.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind watching Lord of the Rings in the cinema. That'd be cool. How about you, Faye? Have you seen anything?
I've seen A Quiet Place, the double bill.
Nice.
Ooh.
Okay.
I love the films so much. Both films are both my favourite films.
Nice.
I think John Krasinski's an upcoming director. He's on The Office. And he's just getting his stuff is so good. I think it's really great. So I enjoyed it so much. It's the story's like really good. It's really good.
Yeah. If you can hear some of these background noises, we are coming at you from a rather overcast media city today.
Yeah,
No, it's really
outdoors,
sunny.
atmospheric.
Yes, we're in the box on the docks today, aren't we? For those who are listening, I know we've got our cameras here. Hello, everyone. So yeah, we've got a bit of background noise. So, so what has there been any releases on Netflix that we've enjoyed as well over lockdown? Anything that we particularly enjoyed? We've had a few bits.
Nothing that's really
I don't know. I can't really think of anything.
struck me because I haven't really been watching much Netflix over the summer. It's mainly been kind of Disney Plus kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
This summer over lockdown. I mean.
Yes, yeah.
I've said this on this podcast before, but I do bow down to the corporate overlords of Disney. I just do anything that Disney does. I'm like, yep.
I mean, Disney or Marvel. I love Marvel. I have to like them.
But I think it's quite funny because we were saying, I remember the first one I did, we were on about Disney, we were on about them in quite a negative light. We were saying they were pushing out all these other films from cinemas and people were they were very much taking over, like, just cinemas generally. People only really went to see those films now. But it's quite funny now that I think they're now going to be the saviours of cinema.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get most people saying, well, do I want to see Black Widow on my TV screen or do I want to see this massive CGI thing on a cinema screen? You're going to go for cinema screen for that. So I do think it's quite funny the way that lockdown has changed it being like, oh, Disney are killing cinema to now, are they our saviours? Is that a good thing? I'm not sure. But I do think that's a really interesting change.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take. I've always had the okay, we'll bring in DC here because DC and Warner Brothers don't really seem to know what they're doing. So a part of me have always they don't because
Understatement.
yeah.
Yeah, they've not got it right yet, have they?
Well, as they recently said
would seem.
about the new Batman film, oh, he seems a bit miserable.
Which
Shall we lighten it up slightly?
Let's make Batman, who is known to be the most depressed character on the planet, not miserable. That doesn't.
Well done.
Well done, Warner Brothers. You know what you're doing. But I've always said, part of me's been like, maybe, what if Disney bought them? I wouldn't really want that, but it's kind of like after I've seen what Disney have done with Marvel and that kind of thing, a part of me thinks, is it the lesser of two evils here? Could they save a franchise? And it leads into kind of just Disney being, yes, they own everything, but it is kind of like, they don't do it badly. Marvel's doing, it's going strong. Star Wars had a rocky moment, which... Don't get me started.
All three.
But we've got The Mandalorian, and it's finally kind of getting into its stride
A rocky
again.
moment for 4 years, and then we got there.
Yeah, Mandalorian is fantastic as well, isn't it? That has been very good. And how do we feel about Loki as well, and the Marvel series that's been out recently?
Well,
enjoyed that?
I'm actually really enjoying it.
Yeah.
The thing with the Disney Plus shows, often me and Aidan do talk about them a bit afterwards. But we both agreed the first episode was probably the best series opener
that they've done for the Marvel shows.
It was
for
just
Netflix.
so well rounded, and it felt like a short film in a sense. It was just so.
He had an entire arc across the entire thing about him, what it means time travel. That he knows he has to understand the timeline, and then he has to. Then he gets over his mum and gets through all the character development that we've had for the past few films to get him to the character where we know him now. And then it was only at the ending where they were like, "Oh, here's what's to come." But we were saying it was just like this. Get rid of that scene with Lady Loki or Enchantress, whoever she is at the moment, and you've got an entire thing. You could have just released that, and I'd have been happy.
But that's
with
the perfect series opener because it introduces you to everything, and then you've got the series to follow. I think it was fabulous. And then series 2, which I still really enjoyed. It's kind of building up to the rest of the series.
Episode 2. Not at series 2 yet.
No, hopefully. No, but episode 2 I really enjoyed, and then episode 3 is today. Haven't seen that yet. Very excited. Gonna have pizza with it.
Oh yeah, it's today, isn't it? Yeah.
Because they're releasing them all on Wednesdays now, because Netflix, because Loki has done so well.
Yeah. And it is Wednesday, my dudes.
God.
Yeah, every day's the same. I never know what day it is anymore.
That's a reference, Aidan.
Yeah. So how about you, Faye? Are you a Marvel fan?
Do you know what? Yes, but not like these guys. Like not as. I mean, I'll watch it, I'll enjoy it, but that's about it. Like I'm one of the few film students that doesn't is not crazy about Marvel. I enjoy it, but it's like not my favorite thing in the world.
You're not alone there. I'm kind of the same. I feel the same way, really.
Yeah.
Damn, we're just the comic book guys. There.
I mean,
We'll leave you guys to talk about that. We'll just.
Nice. And we had a delayed and slightly odd Oscars and Golden Globes, all the awards as well. Did we have any thoughts on that? Did we manage to watch many of these films?
I literally can't remember any of the winners.
You'll have to.
What won Best Picture?
Well, Best Picture was Nomadland.
That's it, yeah.
History-making Chloe Zhao. Fantastic.
Who is doing
achievement by
Eternals.
She is doing
Eternals. That's
yeah.
a good sign.
Yeah. Did we watch Nomadland? Did we think it deserved?
I haven't seen it.
No idea what it's even about.
No.
Well, it's on Disney Plus. So
Maybe I'll get around to it.
Yeah. The Oscars often it just passes me by sometimes. I don't mean to, but it's I watch what I like, you know, and often what I like is can be something that's very good, but sometimes it's just like, I don't know. My opinion on film isn't really ever driven by the Oscars. It's nice when a film you really like gets recognition.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really drive my whether or not I like a film.
Sure.
Like Zack Snyder's Justice League. We literally the episode we just did. I quite like it, but it's like that's not Oscar worthy at all. But it's like it's kind of nice. I like watching it, you know.
Yeah. Well, the big award ceremonies don't tend to go for the big blockbustery Marvel stuff, do they? Star
It's a shame
Wars,
because I
whatever.
think
Yeah.
But it's not really a shame though,
No.
because I love them, but there isn't much artistic integrity to them, is there? I mean, there's some
think there
that
can be
there are some that I
sometimes.
think that have been snubbed. Like Logan is more of an art film than it is a superhero
Oh,
film,
yes.
really, in places. But then other ones, you know, the majority of Marvel Studios ones, for example, that it's not like they're not really directed in a way
Yeah.
to be like, oh, let's do something arty
No,
here.
I
It's
get
just
you.
let's just get people fighting.
which I
It's just-
still like. But I think it does lead on to kind of what you're saying about Logan though. It's like they class all films with a superhero in as in it'll be exactly this kind of thing without giving them a chance. And I feel like there is that stigma around superhero films still. It's way less than it used to be when we had like Daredevil, which justified to have that stigma around superhero films, and that's what we were getting. But it's now it's kind of like it's superhero films. It's cool to be kind of nerdy, but there is still that little bit of the professional Hollywood is like, you made a Batman film. It's
Well,
like,
I
come on.
think that about most awards ceremonies. What's the one that people have boycotted recently? Is it the Emmys or something like that?
Well, no, I'm not sure, to be honest.
I can't remember which one it was.
Was it? I think it might have been the Golden Globes, to be fair. There was
might
a
be
bit
Golden,
of...
might
there
be
was a
Golden
bit of a-
Globes. It might be Golden Globes.
Yeah,
then.
because it wasn't
probably
very diverse,
Yeah, that's
nomination.
a bunch of people boycotted it and things. And I think there's like things like that when you kind of think these are a lot of outdated, just patting your friends on the back kind of thing. Like, I'm friends with these guys at MGM. Let's give them awards. I'm friends with these guys over there. And I kind of think there's a bunch of... I think the Oscars even have had a lot of controversy with, you know, race and gender of nominees recently, and it's kind of like it is a lot of just back patting and there's not. I don't know how much of it is just really like this film's done well or just we like this guy.
Yeah, my mate did this good film. Like, it's a good film, but he's my friend, so I'm gonna give it. I get you. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. So what about series? Have we watched any series that we liked? Anything that has jumped out to us apart from the Marvel stuff that we've already covered?
I'm sure I've been watching something, but
Ooh,
I mainly
BBC.
hear things that are, I've heard that's good, but I never actually get around to
Has
watching it.
anyone watched Time on BBC with Sean Bean?
Oh, I haven't actually.
It's-
Seen Bean.
Yeah.
So, it's 3 episodes, and I always thought I'd give it a watch because it was like Sean Bean. I love Sean Bean, but then I watched it over the weekend with my folks, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and it's only 3 episodes, so give it a watch if you got the time.
Yeah. Faye, anything?
I watched it to sin over lockdown.
I
was just about to mention
yeah,
Pattison.
I was as well. That
Which
seems
you
to
still
be...
haven't finished, by the way.
I got distracted by uni and stuff during it.
Oh,
Right?
that's not.
That does seem to have been the most talked about series this year, doesn't
Probably
it?
for
Which
quite
is
some time,
fan-
really.
yeah,
The amount of
yeah.
It
people.
was incredible.
It was
You're like I think
wonderful,
you're
wasn't it?
basically the only person I know that hasn't
I know.
finished it. Everybody else, it's just
The thing is, it's not
everybody
be-
else. I just assume they've seen
It's
it.
not because I didn't like it. I really enjoyed the first episode, and the next episode was the week after. So I kind of just got distracted, unfortunately. I love binge watching my shows.
I tried to watch
Yeah.
them weekly, but then it got to a point when I was seeing too many spoilers. Then I went, no, I'm just going to watch them all in one go because they were all on all 4 anyway. So I was
I'm
just
pretty
like,
sure you
Oh,
told me
really?
that, but I
Okay.
forgot about that.
yeah.
That's annoying.
I did
now.
tell you that.
Yeah, but I forgot. I forget most of what you tell me.
I watched the first. I think I watched the first 3 weekly. Then the last 2, I was like, no. I know. I'm
Yeah.
not. So I don't want to spoil things now because you're
Right.
there.
No. Right. Okay. Right. I promise. I will. Tomorrow, I will watch it to sin. All right. I swear.
Well done.
Swear.
Okay, we're going to pause recording the podcast now and come back tomorrow once you've watched It's a Sin.
Yeah. Right then, I'm off.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you think then to Sith?
Yeah, it was. It's pretty deep for sure. It's
Yeah.
it's really deep. It's so good. And I think my reason I watched it, my flatmate's brother was an extra in it.
Oh really?
So he came and was like, "Oh, you should watch this," and I was like, "Okay." Obviously, I've heard about it, but I was like, I don't know. It's just a show, so I might as well watch it. And I did, and I was just blown away. It's the acting's fantastic, and the story is so like.
Yeah.
It's real, you know.
Yeah, well, it's what I've seen online and stuff. It's already started to get a few awards, a few more of the smaller awards. So that's a good. I think that's a good sign for what's to come for the show. Yeah, yeah. It was fantastic.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit too short. It could have done with an extra few episodes. I thought some things weren't wrapped up as well.
Yeah.
If you ask me what, I can't remember. It's been a while, but I remember.
Yeah.
I remember coming away from it going, I could have done with this being tied up and that kind of having a bit more development.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very, very strong Russell T Davies series. We love Russell, don't we?
Oh, yes.
On our Doctor Who podcast.
Yeah.
We love Russell.
Yeah, he is fantastic. He's done some great stuff.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
it was very, very good.
Yeah. Did you like Years and Years as well?
Yeah, I
Obviously,
preferred Years and Years
Did
to
you?
It's a Sin. I thought that was far better, even though again that series kind of like is out of date now because it was like predicting things for the future.
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
this catastrophic future that could happen that begins with Trump's second term. So as soon as Biden was elected, it's a bit like, okay, that's not quite in date anymore, but
Yeah.
sure, I really enjoyed it. Years and Years. I thought that was probably one of his best series, if not his best series, besides Doctor Who, of course.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Russell T Davies.
Yeah. And is there anything that we're particularly excited about that's going to be coming out in the next few months? I know we kind of mentioned Black Widow earlier on.
It's all like the big stuff that I'm really looking forward to, like Ghostbusters, the third one of that. I am gonna see that about 50 times in the cinemas because Ghostbusters is one of my favourite films of all time. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to the Halloween sequel. There's all these big sequels and things that I'm going, yeah, I can't wait for this. I can't really think of many one-off things, and I go, oh, that looks cool.
Batman.
That's still a big franchise thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just it's the first of a new one, which I'm very excited for because Matt Reeves, the director, he knows a lot about his stuff, and I've got faith in it. I feel like the Batman could be probably the best version of Batman we get live action.
Yeah.
I feel like it really could be because Robert Pattinson is really he's an incredible actor. Like in The Lighthouse and stuff, he's got such an incredible ability to perform, and I think putting that in as the Batman is something very different, and I think it'll allow him to kind of stretch his wings instead of having to still live off Twilight, which a lot of people still judge him for, which I mean I judge him for that, but then
when he was cast as Batman, I went, really?
But I don't,
Twilight boy.
But that's fair enough, but he's since doing Twilight, he's been able to really kind of focus on the smaller indie films and just being able to act, and I think he'll be fantastic as Batman. And hopefully he'll be allowed by Warner Brothers to bring in that deep emotional level instead of...
I saw a bit of news earlier that he's had a big argument with Matt Reeves,
Oh, brilliant.
Robert Pattinson.
That's
Because
good.
apparently Matt Reeves has put a twist in the film, and Robert Pattinson was like, no, I don't want to do that twist. I don't like that. So I don't know what the twist is, and I don't know what Robert Pattinson doesn't like.
Oh, it's just throwing a spanner in my...
So I don't know.
I'm waiting to get you to watch it.
I don't know. It could just be all rumour, could be made up. But this was news I saw was that he's had an argument with Matt Reeves.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Refreshments have arrived.
Aidan's throwing a spanner in the works of the Matt Reeves thing there.
I'm
but
sorry.
no, but because I saw Matt Reeves' interview on DC Fandom, which was obviously I'm going to watch that. But he seemed to know a lot about Batman, so that's very interesting that Aidan said that there was a clash between Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves, because they both. But that's probably that. I don't know whether that's probably a bad thing, because Matt Reeves seemed to know a lot about the character and he seemed to know where it was going, and Robert Pattinson seems to be a very good actor, so it's maybe the clash is just personal opinion, or maybe the clash is fundamentally not understanding the character. Either way, I'm not really stressing about that.
Well, it could be the other way. It could be really understanding the character and Robert Pattinson not.
Exactly. It might be that, and it's just kind of like that's what I'm more leaning towards. So it could be fine, but that's very interesting. That please be good.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd seen a couple of Robert Pattinson films. Like you mentioned, The Lighthouse, which is fantastic, and he's amazing in as well. And About Time as well. He seems to be quite versatile as well, that we hadn't really seen in some of his earlier work with Twilight and Harry Potter. He was quite He's pretty
in that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he was quite good in Harry Potter, but Harry Potter, it's not really known for its acting.
credibility.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it will be interesting to see what he brings to the part for sure.
Mm.
One of my favourite things at the moment, we talked about this quite briefly before we started recording, but Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yes.
That came out about, well, it would have been about 3 weeks ago now, I think. Have you guys seen
I've
that?
heard so much about Bo Burnham because I go on TikTok a lot, as George knows, and my TikTok feed at the moment is full of people referencing Bo Burnham and doing these things about Bo Burnham and singing along to Bo Burnham's sounds, and I'm going, what does this mean? So I feel like I need to get around to it just so I can understand the references.
Oh yeah, that's me all the time.
It's like, I want to be in this in-joke. What is this? Can I join in?
Yeah, it's just been living in my head totally rent-free for the past 3 weeks since I watched it. It's very good. It's very unique as well. It's
Sure.
you haven't seen anything like it before, because literally he done he started out on YouTube just writing silly songs, and then he got deals with like Comedy Central to do performances, and he's got 2 on Netflix. There's What and Make Happy, which are both fantastic, but they are a bit dark. He kind of goes a lot into some mental health stuff. So be prepared for that. Don't watch it if you might not be in the best headspace. A little disclaimer there for you. But yeah, then with Inside, he I think he's seen, if you kind of go on what he said in the show, because sometimes it's not. One of his big things is that it's not always all real. Some of it's a lie. So if you believe what he's saying in the show, then he started writing it last January, and then obviously lockdown happened. So what he's done is he's got this office/studio space, and he's just recorded this whole thing in this one room, just him and his equipment. There's quite a lot of equipment, so we will have had someone delivering all the stuff, so he wasn't completely alone maybe, but he wrote it, performed it, directed, edited the whole thing all by himself in this one room. And the amount of work that he's put into it and how he's pulled it off it's amazing to see. And like I said, when he first announced it, he announced it about a week before it came out, or 10 days or something. And it was quite a big surprise because from his previous special, you would kind of believe that he wouldn't ever come back to performing. So it was a big surprise for him to kind of do this again. And I really didn't know how it was going to work. Because seeing all of his stuff, he does a lot of musical comedy as well. He writes lots of, he still writes his silly songs. So I was really curious to see how we would make it work. A kind of a medium or a show that is designed to be performed in front of a live audience, with that audience feedback, with the laughter, with all that lot. I was curious, and I couldn't picture it in my head how he'd pull it off, but he just completely nailed it.
I'll have to
Blew me
look
away.
at that then.
Yeah.
I mean, this week it's all I've been hearing about. Like last week, I heard nothing, and then this week it's just been Aidan mentioning it, and then you guys are mentioning it. It's like, right, this is news to me.
It's brilliant.
I'm gonna have to watch
we
this.
all relate to it so much because of course we've been stuck in during lockdown and things. And
Well, yeah.
I mean, if lockdown hadn't happened and he made a film about him in a room for however long year was it?
But yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, we might have went, oh, this is a bit boring, but
No, I probably still would have related to that, to be fair.
we watch it and go, oh, I was in that situation, but it kind of makes me think, oh, I should have made my done something more useful at my time rather than binge watching films and stuff like that. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good, especially with like the limited resources he had to make such a just visually pleasing film. It was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. Some of the lighting designing and stuff like that, like the production design throughout the whole thing is wonderful.
Honestly, it's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely watch it if you haven't, because
yeah. In case you haven't noticed, I'm a huge Bo Burnham fan.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know the name until a week ago, and now I'm like, everybody's just Bo Burnham, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you were itching to talk about that you?
I have a film I want to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you guys seen Outpost?
No, I don't know.
No, it's on Amazon Prime. It's just come out. It's got Orlando Bloom in, and it's like I can't remember who directs it, but it's a war film about a troop of American soldiers in Afghanistan, and they get stationed out in a valley which is like impossible to defend.
Sure.
And so it's based on a true story, but it is so beautiful to watch. It's so good, and most of it's shot in not like 1917, but most of it's shot in one shot.
Okay.
So it's like really intense, and like it's I think few war films can pull off that sort of, you know, pace and just how intense it is. But honestly, it's incredible. You should definitely check it out. It's just really, really, really good.
It sounds like that's kind of up my street as well. I like a good kind of siege defense kind of film.
Yeah.
They're not
You
quite
know,
fun.
one of my most controversial opinions is that I didn't like 1917.
Did you not?
No.
Well, 1917 isn't a siege defense film.
No, but it's that war vibe. Do you know what I mean?
I'm also kind of on Aidan's side here. I'm not a huge fan of 1917.
I wasn't a fan of it. No.
I feel
I mean,
like
because it's like the big thing is like, oh, it's shot in one shot, but it's one of those things you can clearly see the
Yeah, I
cut.
found myself
Yeah.
You go, is this really one shot? Because I can tell the cut there. But my problem was with the story. Like, it was very. I wanted this thing about brothers trying to stick together in war, and then one of the brothers dies, and I was like, okay, so you've lost me there. And then very much because you're just following one person. I found in 1917 that there was no stakes in it because it was like, will he get to the end? It's like, well, yeah, because there's only one guy. Of course he will.
Yeah.
It's like, if he didn't get to the end, what would we do with the film? So I wasn't a fan of 1917, but maybe Outpost fixes that.
Yeah. How about you guys? Is there anything you were itching to bring up that we haven't got to yet?
I saw a bit of news this morning that Steven Spielberg signed a big deal with Netflix to make a bunch of films, even though he'd just signed one with Apple, and that clearly hasn't gone anywhere, so he's gone over to Netflix instead. I thought that was quite interesting. Because I've been rewatching Indiana Jones recently, and I'm like, oh, I love Steven Spielberg. But then you look at Steven Spielberg in recent years, and it's kind of like, where did he go? What does he do? What does he do now? What was the last film Steven Spielberg did? I don't know.
That's a good question, to be fair, yeah.
No,
He did Ready Player One at some point, but that wasn't the
that's-
last film he did.
It's gotta be.
But that was like 5 years
I know,
ago.
but I can't remember any
What
others.
were your thoughts on that?
Ready Player One?
Yeah.
I like it. It feels a lot like a let's show CGI rather than an actual story. I feel like the story.
I was just like, it's the Iron Giant, and then that was about as high my enjoyment
I
got.
enjoyed watching all the little Easter eggs, all the references, seeing that kind of stuff, and that's nice. But it didn't, for me, honestly, the story wasn't really anything spectacular. It was just, I play video games. I love video games, so
Yeah.
I've seen all that kind of plot before. It's kind of like
course.
one of the worst video game plots ever. It didn't really blow me away. The visuals stunning, and it was gorgeous seeing how it was all done. But as a story perspective, just not.
Did he write
Amazing.
it though, Steven Spielberg, or did he just direct it?
I mean,
Do
he
we
would have
know?
had an input in
No.
the story if he directs it.
Yeah.
He would have picked. He wouldn't just go, all right, you random guy on the street, write me a story. He would have.
True, it is Steven Spielberg
Yeah.
as well. But I'm just wondering if he's really like lost his magic, or if he's
I mean,
just.
he's pretty old, right?
He's got to be in his 70s, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
probably the same age as George Lucas, roughly, and he's in his 70s. So.
Yeah.
He's done enough work. He needs a rest.
Yeah. To be fair, it's probably like you've done Indiana Jones, E.T., all these things.
Yeah.
Probably
He's
like,
had a pretty good career.
Yeah, it's
Jaws.
kind of like
He's got
I'm
no
not.
films left in him.
Yeah, it's like I'm not really going, come on, Stephen, you've got enough in the 80s for me to want that. But I thought that was quite interesting that Netflix is where he's gone, because with Jaws, he invented the summer blockbuster. Like, we wouldn't,
Well, yeah.
like, the summer blockbusters we get now, thank you, Steven Spielberg. So it was a bit like he's not going for the cinema anymore. It's a bit weird that he's come to Netflix, but obviously maybe they've got dollar that he likes more than cinema releases.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see Martin Scorsese do that one day. Mister.
Just
I mean,
in time.
he
Well, they had to give him the Irishman because nobody else wanted it. So.
Well, yeah.
I still haven't seen
I
that.
know, I've not
'cause
watched it.
It's
Well,
whenever
about
I
3
speak to
days long or
someone about
something,
it, it's
isn't it?
always
Yeah.
the length, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I couldn't do that to myself.
It's a commitment, isn't it? I feel like I'd need a whole afternoon. Because
It's
I
weird
need to pause it at some
it's
point
'cause,
just to have a
like,
break.
It's because, like we were saying, we did for our Batman podcast, we did the Justice League,
Zack Snyder's
which
Justice
is
League.
4 hours
Oh, yeah.
long. And I remember saying, this is going to take me at least 4 days to do. But I watched it in one sitting, and I was quite surprised about that. But I think the difference with that is it's like divided into parts. So you get part one, then you get a bit, then you get part two, and it feels like there's this sense of pace. As far as I'm aware, that isn't in The Irishman. So you could just be there and just be like, I don't know who I am anymore. I've just been here for hours, and there's no sense of how long you've been there.
Like with
And that's-
Justice League, what it does, it's kind of in between the parts are very distinct in what they handle, and they each have a title. So it's very much like, for one of the parts, I think it's part 4 or 5, it says Beloved Mother, Beloved Son, and it's all about Superman, that part, and that fits into his character. So that's what Aidan's saying, it does help pace it out a bit with The Irishman, obviously.
And also, isn't the de-aging really bad in The Irishman as well? People were complaining about.
Oh,
Isn't,
yeah.
like Robert De Niro kind of like Not Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I think there was some comments made on that. But I mean, I say that about The Irishman and Scorsese, but The Wolf of Wall Street's over 3 hours long, isn't it? And I never really had a problem with that. I think that's...
I've not seen it, and that's the reason why.
I've not seen it.
You haven't seen it?
Wolf of Wall Street?
Because I've got... It's the type of thing I'd go, I've never seen this, I'll get around to it. So put it on I go onto Netflix and I'll see 3 hours and I'll go, nope, and just press back and just decide to...
For me...
With 25 minutes long instead.
Yeah. With Wolf of Wall Street, it's the pacing is so good for me that it doesn't really feel like it's 3.5 hours or whatever it is. You almost don't realise it by the end, and you're kind of surprised that you have just spent 3 hours sitting and watching a film. It is good. I would recommend it.
I would recommend it as well. I think it is the fact it's so well split into acts. I know it doesn't say part 1, part 2, but it is very much.
It is, yeah.
A 3 or 4 act film. I'm pretty sure it's 3 acts. I'm trying to remember. I watched it a very long time ago. But it's very distinctly split into acts. So you do have that sense of pace. And
I think I got to catch before we went lockdown again, before Christmas. I got to watch Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 5. That was very good as well. Really enjoyed watching that.
Which version was it though? Because I'm very particular about the version.
Oh, it was the most recent one. You know, the most kind of updated.
Because I have the DVDs that have the 1997 versions of them, which are the closest you can get to theatrical release, because only George Lucas owns a theatrical release, which I find really weird. It's like, we want to see those ones, but he's like, no, only I get to see them.
Yeah.
So the 1997 versions are the closest you can get, because the ones with the added CGI just really bother me.
Okay.
Like, I've not got to watch the ones on Disney Plus, because it's like, I want to watch this scene. I don't want to see some big CGI creatures walk past for no apparent reason. They just bother me.
Yeah, I got what you mean.
I think I've probably seen all versions of the original Star Wars without even intending to. Like, I would have seen them when I was younger, and then I've seen them again and again. And I mean, when the sequels came out, I know I did marathons of watching like basically all the Star Wars films.
Yeah.
So I've seen them loads of times, and I think Empire Strikes Back probably is my favourite one. It has to be.
Mine too.
It is.
The original's my favourite. I even call it just Star Wars because that was the original title.
Empire Strikes Back is better, but I won't get into it. But I think it is just my favourite for the way it starts to expand the Star Wars universe, and I also enjoy the snow setting. I like snow.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's good. I think there's with A New Hope that the real beauty of A New Hope lies in its simplicity, just like in the story. And how, for me, everything is like that. There's no conveniences in it. Everything kind of happens for a reason, and you know what the cause of the events are. And I think
it's almost like poetry. It rhymes. Well, George Lucas said Star Wars is like poetry, that kind of thing, and he tries to do that in the prequels as well. I really love Revenge of the Sith, the third one.
That's very good.
I know it's not the best of like compared to the original trilogy, but it is.
I once saw a ranking
like
online, like from quite a reputable source, that actually put it at number 1 in this one. I was really surprised. I thought that's just being edgy, but
I mean, I'm not hurt by that, because I do think, compared to the other prequels, Revenge of the Sith is way better, because it actually does what you want from the prequels. It leads into the original trilogy. It gives you that background. It gives you an Anakin that is a bit angsty, but he's not just crying all the time.
Yeah.
And it gives you Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is probably the best casting ever in history.
Yeah, that's exciting as well. That's a new series coming out soon, the Kenobi. I can't wait for that.
Have you seen the set photo where he's got the bin bag over the suit? And it's like, that's quite clearly Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I was telling George a little bit of news about that as well, was that because there was this big speculation about whether or not Liam Neeson will be in it. And there was an interview with Liam Neeson, and they went, "Are you going to be in it?" And he went, "No, they didn't have enough money."
I don't believe that for a second.
So I think, well, it's like, the thing is, it's quite funny that he said that, is that Liam Neeson's basically implying he wants a higher rate. But then you also look at some of the stuff that Liam Neeson does now. Like, hasn't he just done this film on Amazon Prime? He's basically just painting a house for an hour or something. He's about him renovating a house with his son or something. That's literally. I was like, this is DIY SOS. But I think they can get him.
No, but I think he's just lying there, because Liam Neeson came back for the Clone Wars TV show as a voice for an animation, and it's like, if he'd come back for that for Star Wars, why wouldn't he come back for live action?
Yeah.
And if he's, as you say now, not doing huge films,
he's not doing Taken anymore.
It's
and even
like,
then he did 3 Takens.
So. I doubt he wouldn't have come back even if he was still huge now. But the fact he's kind of saying the reason he's not coming back is money, I don't believe that. I firmly believe he's probably saying that to be like, I'm not coming back. And then he's going to be in it. I'm going to eat my words, but I hope. Honestly, this is just coming from hope, to be honest. I really want him to be in it. That'd be great.
One of the best films I've ever seen in the cinema, one of my favourite experiences was Damien Chazelle's First Man, but the Neil Armstrong biopic.
I need to watch that.
It was incredible at the cinema, just because of the sound design. Because a lot of the like, you know, the launch sequences and the scenes where he is in the rocket, it was all filmed inside the cockpit, and that's where the perspective kind of stays inside the cockpit, so you really feel like you're in there. But with the sound design as well, because you're in a cinema with proper, you know, Dolby surround sound and whatever, every little rivet, you can just hear it everywhere. It is so immersive, and I would love to watch that in a cinema again, because it isn't quite the same when it's just your TV's speaker system. It's not quite the same, and even just stereo, if you're wearing headphones, it's just not quite the same. Yeah. I'd love to watch that in the cinema again.
I feel like even if you've got really good headphones, you can't quite match the feeling of being in a cinema, because it's got the right distance. It knows there is something better about the sound, and I think sound design is fantastic. And now that you've said that, I'm gonna probably watch First Man, because it was on my list, and every time I go on like Amazon Prime or Netflix, it's sitting there, and I'm like, I need to watch that. Yeah. And now you've mentioned sound design, I'm probably going to watch it as soon as.
It's brilliant. Yeah, well, it's immersive.
I think for me, my favourite sound design film of all time, it's not purely the sound design, but it is probably Whiplash. Yeah. Honestly, that's... I always forget, sometimes, like, the problem with my favourite films is because they're my favourite, I always forget they're my favourite, because they're so good, they're just there. A bad film, I remember until I die. Yeah. A good film, it kind of gets pushed back. But Whiplash... He's rolling.
Excellent.
Ironically, we're talking about sound design.
No, but Whiplash is probably one of my favourite films of all time because of the way it's J.K. Simmons. I forget the name of the actor.
Miles Teller.
The way they play off each other is amazing.
It's stunning. Yeah.
J.K. Simmons is one of my favourite actors, and seeing him just play that kind of role and be fully immersed in it is beautiful. And for me, sound design goes hand in hand with music. Yeah. And that's vital, I think. And I feel like a lot of people forget the sound design can be the use of music as well.
Yeah, it's always good to have a film that heavily relies on music. I watched The Big Lebowski last night, and that's got a lot of music as part of the... I mean, the Cohen Brothers like to do that anyway, don't they? I love the Cohen Brothers as well. I watched Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for the first time recently, and I really enjoyed that. I've got a few of the songs on my movie playlist on Spotify now. I really enjoyed it, yeah.
Anyone here like the Coen Brothers?
Well, I was thinking I watched Big Lebowski recently, but I don't remember much about it. That's all.
I think it's overrated.
It was a while ago. I watched Big Lebowski expecting to go Big Lebowski, but instead I was like, Big Lebowski, innit?
If you're a film student, you've got to like it, but no one really knows why. I think it's a controversial.
Well, maybe that's why, because I'm not a film student anymore.
Well,
so maybe
anymore,
I was like,
it
doesn't click with me.
You're not good enough for film. I think that's what we say.
Give me a TV show instead.
Yeah. Well, it got mentioned a lot, didn't it, in our lectures for our like film theory lectures. We got a lot of clips from Big Lebowski, so it's a good one to study. I mean, the Coen Brothers generally are anyway. You know, films like Tarantino as well. He normally comes up.
Well, Tarantino comes up a lot, but I'm probably a bit controversial with this, or maybe it isn't. I don't know what is anymore.
Go ahead.
But with Tarantino, I like Django Unchained is one of my favorite films. I love the story, but I feel like Tarantino himself isn't that great of not an actor, because he doesn't act. Not that great.
He does.
Well, he's not a great actor.
No, but he's not that. The directing, it doesn't really blow me away anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in Pulp Fiction that was amazing. Yeah. But then now it kind of feels like it's not really blowing my mind. Yeah. And I feel like I hear a lot of stories about Tarantino, the way he's like on set.
I don't like him.
Exactly. I hear about it and I'm like, I can't really enjoy your films anymore after the kind of way you treated your actors. It's like, that's terrible. Like, why would you do that? I feel like...
The thing about Tarantino is that he's like... I get it. I'm not fussed on him as a person, and I also one of my pet peeves is when you ask somebody who's your favorite director, and then you go, Tarantino. It's like, come pick somebody else, please. But thing about him that he is good for is he's the great remixer. Like, he takes all these influences and then chucks them out at one. Like he goes, I love kung fu movies, I love blaxploitation films, I love gang films. Let's put them in one. It's like, how do they go together? That he finds a way to do that.
It works. Yeah.
That's what Tarantino's good for. But
As a person,
but as a person, no.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit disappointed with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Same.
Actually,
I wasn't fussed on that. I really wasn't fussed.
I was expecting something really big as well because he was saying this is the best things I've done since Pulp Fiction.
Because it's like 60s set as well, and I love Charles Manson, all that kind of stuff around it. So when they said we're going to get a Charles Manson film, I was like, yeah. Oh, he's in it for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and I was kind of like what they advertised it as wasn't really what I thought it was going to be, but I like Brad Pitt.
I know they had Bruce Lee in the trailer, and then in the film he was portrayed really badly.
Really
I love Bruce Lee. He's one of my all-time heroes. It's the reason I got into karate when I was younger. But seeing the way he was portrayed in that film really hurt me, because it's like, Bruce Lee is known to be kind and gentle, and he's not meant to be arrogant, and it's really annoyed me. And maybe it's before the time he's really found himself and being like flow like water and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of like you're taking artistic license here on
a real person.
Yes, and he did that throughout all of the characters in the film.
Yeah, and there was lots of things that kind of came out afterwards as well, wasn't there? Where he didn't seek the approval of the of that family and stuff. So yeah, I think it was a bit controversial.
And it's like the way like it shows you maybe he didn't really care about how he portrayed them.
It'll be interesting to see what Tarantino does next, I think, because he's always said for his whole career, isn't he, that he wants to do 10 films, and so he's got one left, in theory. So it'll be interesting to see what he does next.
He was supposed to be doing a Star Trek film for ages, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
That kind of just fell apart. I'd have loved to see that.
How would that have worked, though?
I don't know, because I've said this about Star Trek. The difference between Star Trek and Star Wars is that Star Wars is action and fantasy in space, whereas Star Trek is philosophy in space. It's generally sitting around talking about things and learning.
That's what they do.
Learning the moral of the episode. So then, for have Tarantino come into that, how does Tarantino handle philosophy? It would just be like, oh, Spock, this is very deep. Anyway, wouldn't it? It'd be a really strange film to watch.
I mean, Star Trek's kind of lost that philosophy element because of the J.J. Abrams films and that kind of thing. So I feel like we've kind of passed that, unfortunately, and that is what made Star Trek unique. And don't get me wrong, I do like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films. I do quite like them, but
except the second one.
Yes, but they aren't really very Star Trek-y. They're just kind of futuristic space. They're not very...
in that world,
Yeah, they're not purely what made Star Trek, which was the philosophy, which I didn't always enjoy when I was younger, because it's like, this is boring, give me lightsabers. But it is what makes it unique, instead of just being another futuristic thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think Tarantino, I wouldn't really have liked to see what he'd do with it.
I would have liked to have seen it, just because I'm like, well, how would that work?
Yeah.
But I don't know if it'd be very good.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious enough to watch it. So do you have any recommendations at all? It can be anything, doesn't have to be lockdown themed. Do you have any films? Maybe a film that nobody talks about that you maybe think more people should watch. Maybe an underrated one. Do you have anything? My favourite film of all time, and I talk about this quite a lot actually, is Old Boy, the Korean film. So I always recommend Old Boy. It's
the
fantastic.
original. Don't watch the
original Korean one. Yeah, it totally, with the twist at the end, it completely opened my mind to the possibilities of storytelling. I didn't know you could do that, and it totally blew me away. So yeah, Old Boy. But like George said, make sure you watch the Korean version with the subtitles. Don't watch the American one. Yeah, Faye, any recommendations for us?
The Outpost. I'm just gonna say that.
The Outpost. Yeah. Good shout. Okay.
It's good.
Oh, let's think.
No pressure.
Everything you've ever watched suddenly beamed into your brain.
Just make something up.
Right. Do you want underrated, or I can just pick anything? If I can lean into animation, I know.
Yeah, of course.
Right, okay. If you are just a Marvel or DC fan or anything like that, and you haven't given animation a chance or that kind of thing, I would suggest Batman Under the Red Hood.
Okay.
It is an animation, but it is probably one of my, if not my favourite film of all time, because it is incredible and it's just fantastic. And it's got quite, not star-studded, but it's got quite a few names in there. Like Nightwing is played by Neil Patrick Harris, for example.
Oh wow, okay.
Like it's got good names.
Isn't Jensen Ackles in it as well?
Jensen Ackles plays Red Hood.
Yeah.
Forget Bruce Greenwood plays Batman. So it is a good cast, and it's fantastic. So if you like Batman and if you love animation, give it a watch. But if you're not quite into animation yet, I would suggest it, because I feel like a lot of people, there's a stigma against animation or any sort of animation, like animation or anime or anything like that. But there are obviously there's terrible stuff in there, as with anything, but there is incredible stuff in there as well, and you don't need to block yourself off just because it's animation.
Where can we catch that?
I mean, it's quite old now. Like not old, but it's you can probably get it on Amazon Prime for like rent it like
cheap.
$3 or something. It's like
$3.
Well, not like three. I don't know. A buck.
Books? Why does it book?
I don't know.
Am I suddenly in New York?
I'm thinking I'm in America right now for some reason. Don't ask me. No, I don't know.
I'm in Salford, I mean.
Wow, look at there's the Empire State Building over there.
How about you? Do you have any recommendations?
Well, I would always recommend, I think I might have even recommended it on this podcast before, but I would always say watch Okja on
Bong Joon-ho.
On Netflix, Because I always say that one because it's always like everybody focuses on Parasite, but it's like, not seen Parasite
he's got
yet,
some great stuff.
but
You need to watch Parasite.
Okja is an incredible film, so I'd always say that. But also because I'm TV and radio, I'm just going to slip a little TV show in here as well. And I'll always say, again, sticking to Netflix, Haunting of Bly Manor was out last year. That was very good, but it was nowhere near as good as The Haunting of Hill House was. So watch Haunting of Hill House. Unless you have a nervous disposition, and then don't, because it's the only thing I've ever watched when I've genuinely screamed because it was terrifying. But they would be my two things.
Great stuff. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us, and thank you everyone for watching or listening as well. And we'll see you in further episodes.
Thanks for having us.